Hi, welcome back. It's really good for you to join us today in the live stream. We're going to talk today, Chaz and I, about Windows 10 Accelerator Program. Are you excited about it like I am?
I'm totally stoked.
It's something that Adaptiva offers, and it contains insight and knowledge from TrueSec and experts and MVPs in the field that can help you with your Windows 10 deployments. And so our goal is fast, stress-free OSD for you. We're going to dive right in and start talking about it. My name is Adam Bresson, and I am the Director of Product Marketing at Adaptiva. And I'm really getting excited about technology, so I appreciate you joining us today and spending time learning more about some tips and tricks for deploying Windows 10. Chaz?
And my name is Chaz Spahn. I'm the new guy to the team, been with the team for about 3 months now. Previous life was in consulting, and so I've used SCCM for many, many years, and I absolutely love working here and seeing the leaps and bounds that we can make in an SCCM environment to make Windows 10 that much faster and easier.
That's so great. Well, let's dive right in and learn a little bit about Adaptiva, and we'll go to the slides right now and take a look at them. So, one of the key things here is Adaptiva has been around for a long time, since 2004. We're based here in Kirkland, Washington. I would say sunny, but today it is raining, coincidentally. We are a company that has global customers, about 100 global customers, and we're dedicated to making deployment, management, and security easier with our technologies, and to give you more control over those things as well. And we do that through the power of peer-to-peer, P2P. So we've written our own proprietary protocol, and we focus on delivering updates, software, and really any kind of content as smoothly as possible with respect for challenges like global offices, different bandwidth. Think of the difference between 4G LTE and having a T1 into your office. And our products, OneSite, Client Health, and our program, the Windows 10 Accelerator Program, which we're going to go into more detail today, help you achieve those goals of deployment management and security. We have a lot of companies that use our technology today, and we're in over 100 countries. I hope some of you international folks watching the live stream today are from some of the broad global places and companies that use our technology. So you can see finance, government, healthcare, retail, manufacturing, even infrastructure, utilities, and mining companies. And we partner with Microsoft, VMware, and other technology partners in order to help deliver OneSite, Client Health, and to improve Windows 10 deployments.
I gotta say, I can't wait to get out and start traveling to some of those locations.
Right?
Meeting with the customers.
I love traveling, both nationally and internationally, and right after this live stream, we'll have to set something up.
We've got enough customers in Australia, so that's
Oh yeah, that's on my list too.
Take that Seattle gray and turn it in for some of the Outback.
That's great. I want to go to Bondi Beach. So one of the key drivers for deploying Windows 10, and one of the problems that most organizations run into, is that it's somewhat to extremely challenging. About 65% of enterprises describe Windows 10 migration as somewhat to extremely challenging. And that's really interesting because it actually embodies a lot of different opportunities for us to improve the Windows 10 deployment experience. From something as straightforward as the time it takes, the planning required, the bandwidth required, the cost, the training, the infrastructure, even data migration. There are so many factors that go into Windows 10 deployment. And we want to help smooth those challenges for you as an organization. And that from the very beginning with our technologies in OneSite and Client Health, that's our goal. And we're putting together the best of these tools and resources for you to help make Windows 10 deployments better. Let me introduce you to the 4 key components of our solution for the Windows 10 Accelerator Program. First is OneSite, and this is our content distribution engine. It leverages intelligent peer-to-peer connections to deliver software updates and content updates. What's your favorite feature of OneSite, Chaz?
It's got to be the bandwidth harvesting.
That's really amazing, huh?
It's, easier is great, but faster is the key for
Faster
me.
is
I
the
want to see
key.
everything go faster and faster. So.
And yeah, I think what's great about that is if you imagine you have endpoints throughout your organization, thousands of endpoints. Each one of those has some available bandwidth, some available storage, some available compute that you can harvest, put that together, and use that to speed up updates. So you're no longer reliant on just one distribution point or local distribution points. You can take advantage of all of the compute, storage, and network power you have within your entire global organization to speed up a content distribution.
And no more reliance on bits and throttling. Get rid of the throttling.
No throttling.
That's right.
And then we use Client Health, which is our distributed client health solution, to monitor and perform health checks on your machine, and then remediate or take action on anything that actually might fall outside of your policy as an organization. So let me give you a quick example. If you have Client Health for Windows 10 and you run a health check and they don't have BitLocker turned on or they have extra shares enabled, we can discover that. So when you upgrade to Windows 10, you can eliminate those potential violations of your policies. In the program for the Windows 10 Accelerator Program, we also offer MVP training and guides, which are exclusive to Adaptiva. And one of the things you'll find is a 9-part series presented by Trusek and Johan and Mikhail on upgrading to Windows 10. And it gives you a lot of great tips. And I've watched them. I'd say they're stars in both the community and stars in our video, for sure.
Of course.
And we also brought together a few Windows 10 community tools that we find, and Chaz, you'll highlight some of these in a few moments. We find that address certain needs or challenges when upgrading to Windows 10. Putting that together is so important so we can have a fast, a speedy, zero-touch Windows 10 deployment at scale.
Absolutely.
I'm going to talk about a few of the challenges. We are going to get into some great demos that Chaz is going to do and show you some of the resources we offer, some of the advantages of doing this deployment with Adaptiva One Site, as well as some of the advantages of using Client Health to help maintain your deployment. But let me talk about and go to a little bit more depth into some of the key challenges of Windows 10 deployment and how Adaptiva One Site helps you solve those challenges. The first is a lot of organizations really want to eliminate IT infrastructure costs. I know, coming from the IT admin environment, I remember actually hand carrying a server up 40 flights of stairs in San Francisco in the Embarcadero just to move it from one building to the other when we had to do that.
Oh, yeah.
So imagine if I had to do that for 100 distribution points that were spread out in all of these offices or branches in a bank, for example. So one of the key features of One Site is that it helps eliminate those IT infrastructure costs. And the way it does that is it uses those resources, like I mentioned and talked about, that exist in your offices, your endpoints, in order to perform the services faster that a distribution point often provided. And so we talk about the peer-to-peer memory pipeline architecture, and that's how we monitor, assemble, and leverage these resources in order to speed up content distribution. Next, really store and migrate content and user data. So one of the things we do that's really interesting is we create what we call a virtual SAN. So a storage area network that's composed of all the storage that you have in your endpoints. And we can move content around and verify content. We sign it, we hash it. We can even encrypt that content, any content that can be distributed through System Center, right? And including state migration points.
Yep.
And you had a good point to make actually about state migration
Yeah,
points.
well, I mean, don't forget that to start with the virtual SAN, we deal with a zero impact cache. So we're able to, again, harvest all of the available hard drive space on the end user's machines without impacting them. So even though we're taking up that space, we're utilizing it for our cache, The user sees that as free space. There's no impact to them. If they need to copy something to their local drive, it's going to be able to immediately have access to that space, and we're not going to impact how they're able to do their work. But then we take all of that space, combine it into that virtual SAN, bring the intelligence behind the rendezvous point to be able to distribute content throughout that environment, make it available to any user at any time, and effectively manage it, make sure that we have multiple copies so that it's as robust, if not more so, than a distribution point, and yet we're utilizing peer-to-peer technology.
And more flexible too, and adaptable.
Yes.
And we've talked a little bit about predictive bandwidth harvesting and overcoming network bandwidth issues. We are predictive. We look at how packets are being distributed all throughout your global network. So we're looking at the way that the content's being distributed, and we're reaching in and doing predictive analysis of router queues, and we're putting together reports on how content was delivered, and we're adapting to the available bandwidth in order to ensure that it's the fastest and speediest delivery of that. Another cool area, and we're going to talk about it and show it in a little bit more in depth, is the the option to do peer-to-peer Pixie. So do your pre-installation environment from any of these machines. So imagine if your OS image came from one machine, the answer to the call for Pixie, for the pre-installation environment came from another machine.
Right.
And we were able, and that machine suddenly turned off, we were able to deliver that OS image from another machine completely. That's
Without breaking the task sequence.
Without breaking the task sequence that's running. An amazing opportunity to improve distribution of your new operating system and of Windows 10. Also, I really like this. I like dashboards. So we have a great dashboard called LiveFlow that's part of OneSite, and it lets you gain that real-time visibility and control into the distribution of content. You can even pause from that LiveFlow dashboard, and we have the big red button.
The big red button.
Hit that big red button, and all content distribution will be halted. And it gives you a lot of control and power over how your content is being distributed. And finally, we have an opportunity to build your own workflows for how content is distributed and how we do our client health checks as well in the full client health. And so we have a workflow designer.
But don't forget the caveat.
Yes.
That requires full client health.
It does require the full client health. The program includes a 1-year license of client health for Windows 10. But we'd love for you to see the full value of client health as well. And so you can design your own workflows. We've designed some of our health checks. For example, when WannaCry came out, we designed a workflow to particularly check for that and to remediate that and take action on it in client health. And that's a great demonstration of the flexibility of what we offer with OneSite and with client health. Speaking of client health, jumping into it a little bit more here, what we really want to do is we want to automate Windows 10 security configuration management. You can use client health both pre and post deployment of Windows 10 in order to perform your health checks and to really identify any problems you have and automatically repair those problems. Like I mentioned, we offer a 1-year license of client health for Windows 10 with the Windows 10 Accelerator Program, and it includes 38 health checks that you can take advantage of and lots of reports around how your Windows 10 endpoints and your former Windows 7 and Windows 8 endpoints are being upgraded.
Yeah. It's a great introduction to client health. But remember, those 38, that's 38 out of about 120 right now that we're currently at.
And it keeps going up. That number keeps going up.
That's right. And the beauty of the product with us is that we're constantly developing new ones based off of our customer requests. So with your support contract, you call in, you talk to our solutions guys, and we're building workflows specifically for our customers. And if it makes sense for everybody else, we throw it into the product in the next release. So
yeah. And we, one of the things that we've been able to do, and maybe you have an example of this, and I have an example, is take the feedback from our customers because of the close relationships we have with these global organizations, and use that to make adjustments to the client health checks, for example,
Oh, yeah,
or
absolutely.
improve the live flow process. And that's one of the reasons why it's so important for us to be out here talking to you today and getting the feedback. So please feel free, for those of you on the Discuss platform, please feel free to provide us with some questions, and we will follow up after this and definitely take any feedback we get back to our engineering. I mentioned before that the third component is exclusive content provided by some of the MVPs in the community, by TrueSec as well. You can see right here, Amy, who just spoke to you on the live stream with Mikal. She provides some guides, some webinars. There's additional product training that she created. So I guess we have an additional shining star. Also, TrueSec put together a video series of 9 videos that's exclusive to the program that you can leverage. And Cliff Hobbs came in and helped us design a Windows 10 security design kit, which you can use in both your planning, your plan, deploy, and maintain stages to improve the security of Windows 10. And the last component are the Windows 10 community tools. These are a set of curated tools that we recommend, many of them first-party tools provided by Microsoft, for example.
Absolutely.
And task sequences that we've created. So our own Amy Casto created BIOS to UEFI task sequences for several different makes and models. And we have an application rationalization migration task sequence as well that we provide that you can integrate into your existing deployment and task sequences. We have some great tools that we recommend from Microsoft: Software Center, Upgrade Readiness, Security Compliance Toolkit. We have one of your favorites, Chaz, I know, the System Center Dudes auditing tool for software license management. And give us a quick overview of that. I know you're going to show it a little bit more in depth.
Yeah, we'll show it. It's really, System Center Dudes has got a bunch of excellent reports that they've created, customized reports to use within SCCM. We're going to give access to one of those for free as a part of our program. That's going to give access to see all of your software inventory along with the last used date. So we're taking the 2 different tables in SCCM, bringing them together, and providing a good view and to help with that rationalization.
And then you can
process.
prioritize, for example, the applications that you're tackling, right?
Exactly. Yeah, see the ones that are actively being used. You're taking all of the information from asset intelligence to know what the app is for, and how many locations it's been deployed to, when it was last used, so you can make intelligence decisions on your rationalization process.
That's so great. We also offer CT Global's application approval email tool as well. So I mentioned we have 3 stages of the Windows 10 Accelerator program: plan, deploy, and maintain. And I've gone over most of the details, but this is how we see it. And this is our recommendation for how to make your Windows 10 deployments better. Preparedness, look at client health for Windows 10 and take a look at some health checks that help you along the way. Check for compatibility. We've spent a lot of time talking about application rationalization. Here you're looking at drivers and hardware, looking at the BIOS to UEFI status. Looking at employee communication, which is so important, some team training, our videos address that, infrastructure design, what you want to accomplish, and a security design plan as well. All of that built in to the program. And then you're actually thinking about deployment. And this is the part that gets people a little scared sometimes, right? Turning that switch on to sending out that OSD image. And I guess traditionally, I know you ran into it. I ran into it too. You could walk around with a USB key and go hit all of those machines, right? Or you could, maybe you even have CD-ROM media sitting around somewhere and accomplish it that way. But taking advantage of the technologies that are in Windows, like the Windows Deployment Toolkit and System Center's advantages around task sequences, around OS deployment, and taking advantage of one site to help you speed up the delivery of those operating system images, which often can be, 4 gigs or bigger, right?
Oh, yeah,
Going
it's
out
easy.
over your transom. And we minimize that impact with our zero-touch deployment with one site. So you can see here, we help you with the BIOS to UEFI migration. We also help with user self-scheduling. And then after you've deployed, because it was just that easy. Can it be just that easy, Chaz?
No, never.
After you deploy, you maintain Windows 10. And here you're looking at continuing to do additional health checks, updating your operating system image, for example, auto-updating or pushing out drivers or updates and patches. And then also, we provide you some Windows 10 servicing training. And this is a request we actually get quite a bit, right?
Of
After
course.
you've deployed it, what are the best practices to maintain Windows 10?
Right. And how do we stay as a part of the curve and make sure that we're keeping it up to date with the new servicing functionality, but making it easy? Because it sounds like it should be easy. Oh, it's just another upgrade. Your
Right.
apps, your data is going to stay in place. You're never going to have to do another wipe and replace. But the reality comes into play when you start to actually try to accomplish these things. And you look at the fact that we still have the challenges with application compatibility, settings compatibility, how we're going to take advantage of the new features that are coming out. So you still have the same challenges. You still have to get that package out there. Those packages is a full OS. It's not just a service pack. So while we make it easier on one hand for the user, we make it a lot harder on the IT pro. And so coming up with solutions to keep them sane and continue to work and get that content around is where we're at.
Like, for example, turning on and off features like Cortana. A lot
Hey.
of organizations want to find out the best way to use it in the enterprise, and that's an opportunity to make updates to the deployment and updates to the image as features continue to evolve. And it also depends on what kind of service branch you're on for Windows 10.
Absolutely.
Maybe before I switch over to this, maybe you could go into just a minute about the different service branches that are available, current branch for business, long-term servicing branch, and what those considerations look like. I know we go into it here in the videos for the Accelerator program, but I think that would be really helpful for the people who are watching our live stream.
Sure. Yeah. It's you start to think through the fact that you've got the long-term servicing branch, you've got current branch for business. All of these layers are going to be in every environment just about.
Right.
So we're going to have machines that we absolutely know under any circumstances want to make changes to those because they're running vital equipment on a shop floor, in a medical office. And so we want to ensure that there are no new features going to that, so long-term servicing branch will address that. But at the same time, long-term servicing branch for everybody would kind of be a waste of time because now we're not going to get all the new features, all the new capabilities, all the new security updates. No, not specifically the updates, but the new features that are providing security. You know, Windows 10, when it first came out, we had a ton of different security technologies that were built into Windows 10, but those are changing every single day. So Device Guard gets split out and
Credential
becomes
Guard, yeah.
well, now it becomes application control.
Right.
And so all of these things are changing, and we need to be able to keep up with that. So it's important to make sure that you've got current branch so that you're getting those changes as soon as they come out. And then for your greater community, you're going to go for the current branch for business to make sure that it's been, actually it's not even current branch for business anymore. Why am I even saying that? Semi-annual.
Right,
It's a semi-annual channel
yeah.
now. So, but we want to be able to be certain that in our environment, we're testing those features as they come out. We're rolling them out to the greater community once we've tested those and know that they're stable. And for those important pieces of equipment, make sure that nothing gets put on them until we're ready to do a widescreen deployment.
And you know, depending on the use of the endpoint, that's how you can make that decision about which branch works best. There'll always be people, though, who don't want that change, and they're going to want that longer period of time for updates and even for new features as well.
Well, and then you're going to have the opposite guy who can't wait to get the new things. He's watched blogs
That's this
out
guy.
there. Give it to me now.
Exactly. So I'm going to go over these fairly quickly, but we've divided the resources that you saw before into a series of steps to check preparedness, do training and upgrading, look at application compatibility, and also take a look at asset intelligence and your licensing. In addition to that, we talked about the employee communication, additional training videos, looking at the infrastructure for deployment that you plan to use for your deployment. So this is, S&P, Pixie based, different content delivery mechanisms. And one of the nice advantages of one site here is when you're using it for your operating system deployment, it will also automatically discover the topology of your network. So it can help divide it into offices and give you even more insight into how patches and updates go out to those offices.
Absolutely.
And LiveFlow helps you with that view too. And then lastly, designing the use of Windows 10 security features. So you mentioned all the guards, credential guard, device guard, split up, application control. There are many, many other technologies that help do things like credential guard helps prevent pass the hash and other types of security issues, virtualizing the LSAA and things like that as well. So we help you understand what those features are and how you might implement them to make your environment more secure. Now I'd love it, Chaz, if you would step over and talk to our audience here about some of the resources we offer in the Windows 10 Accelerator program.
Yeah, so if we switch over to my laptop here, we walk through really quickly what a lot of the different overarching parts of the Accelerator program are, but I'm going to go in and actually let's take a look at the content that they're really going to get. So once they logged into our support portal, we've got the Accelerator program, comes right up on the main screen, and once you get in here, you can start to see all of the different pieces of information that we're providing.
And one quick question, what's required to get access to the support portal, support.adaptiva.com?
One site.
One site.
One site. One product gets you access to all of this content. So the client health piece of it, we're going to give them that free license for a year so that they can use the client health. So the only thing that they're purchasing is their one site, which, once you've seen one site, you can't live without it anyway. So we start off with our welcome guide. So they're able to get right in here. You can download this PDF or you can walk through it on site. This is going to take you through all of the different components that we've been talking about today. In it is links. All of those links, though, are simply going to take us back here right to the Accelerator program page. So everything revolves around this portal.
And this is organized the same way, right? Plan, deploy, maintain, and getting started.
Yeah. We live it, preach it, love it, right? Plan, deploy, and maintain. So when you're planning, great. We've got lots of different resources in here. Some of these are Microsoft resources like we talked about, and they'll start off with a Microsoft solution. Some of it is Adaptiva provided, whether it's something that we've developed internally or something that we partnered with TrueSec for. We also have lots of different community solutions in there because we know that there are lots of experts that we can tap into, and why recreate the wheel? So like we were talking about before, my favorite, right? Here is the Solution Centers dudes.
Yeah.
And so we've got a screenshot here of the report that you're going to get. This is the one of the many reports that System Center sells you. And it is going to help you with that app rationalization, right? So anybody who's gone through a deployment before knows one of the longest parts of the planning stage is
One of the biggest
figuring out your apps.
for sure, yeah.
What are we going to do with these 14 different versions that we've got in play? What are we going to do with all of these different products that all do the exact same thing? How many different PDF writers do you really need? So going through and getting that single pane of glass to see not only what's in my environment, but let's figure out when was it last used? How many people have it? So that I can start making those smart decisions about what's going to get redeployed into the environment once we get over to the Windows 10. And as I said, this is a paid product by System Center dudes, but all of our users are going to get free access to it, so we provide them with the capability and the code to go download that straight from them.
That's an awesome resource.
Yeah, it's amazing. And then you've got all of the different guides that we had done. Again, some of these are from internal resources. Some of them we've partnered with. There's the Cliff Hobbs design guide right there, the security design guide. We've also created Visio stencils. So part of planning is always make sure you document what you're going to do. Document, document, document. So we created a set of Visio stencils that you can download, put and import into Visio so that you can create your own documents. We also even created a template so you can see this is what a typical one-site environment is going to look like. So lots and lots of different resources that are going to be available to them. And again, all in order. So go through, here's all the pieces that you need for plan. Once you're done with that, then you move over to the deployment section. Here's all the pieces you need for deploy. And you just walk through the step by step.
That's so good. So after I've been there and I'm thinking about deploying Windows 10 and I'm going through the resources and I'm coming up with the right ideas and the right security plans for what I want to accomplish, then I actually need to do the deployment, right?
That's right.
So I can't skip that phase of my Windows 10 deployment. And here, we're really putting together about 6 steps for you. So using task sequences to automate things like application mapping or BIOS to UEFI upgrading during the deployment. So you get that those extra benefits of secure boot and the keys that validate the operating system. Then enable and configure Windows 10 security features. So right out of the box, you want to make sure your Windows 10 deployment is secure. Also, what's really important is doing more training, because your end users are going to get really excited about Windows 10. They're going to ask, what's different? That's probably the first question we get asked, right?
What's new? What do I got to figure out?
What's new? What's different? And I think the blending of the technologies, the way that applications are presented, both in the list of applications, the start menu, the responsiveness of the operating system, that's what they're going to notice first. So we need to make sure that they're ready for that deployment of Windows 10. And then we do the zero-touch deployment with OneSite. And this is where we're using those technologies we talked about, like the memory pipeline architecture, our predictive bandwidth harvesting, putting together our virtual SAN and the other technologies to really speed up and and give you visibility into what a Windows 10 deployment looks like. And you're going to show actually our peer-to-peer Pixie, which by using the word Pixie sounds magical. And we're going to go ahead and take a look at that in a few moments. And lastly, doing a little bit of user self-scheduling so that they can, for example, request the upgrade and approve the upgrade and interact with admins. That lets them participate in the process. So let's jump right over and take a look at our OneSite peer-to-peer Pixie, and then we'll also look at how that plays into our content send and receive, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Great, thank you. Let's switch over.
Let's switch over to my machine here. And so when we start talking about Pixie, obviously the first thing that most config manager admins shudder is we start thinking about, oh God, we got to work with the network team.
Oh.
How do we
we all need to work together.
How do we find out all of the different subnets? How do we make sure that we've got IP helpers or DHCP options set up so that I can even get to a Pixie server? Then I've got to go and enable Pixie services. So let's take a look at that. If I go into my config manager console here,
right.
The first thing we've got to do is we've got to go into administration. We've got to find our distribution points. Here's my distribution point. I'm going to go into the properties of that. Notice, how many distribution points do I have?
You have one.
One. That's it. One.
Is that also for example, for the auto content discovery that OneSite provides, bringing down the content packages?
Absolutely. And obviously we can joke about it. It's a lab environment. Of course, there's only one distribution point. But let's certain customer that happens to be the largest retailer in the United States. They deal with tens of thousands of clients with how many distribution points? One distribution point.
One distribution point. Over 100,000 endpoints, right?
That's right. So, all right, so our distribution point, we go into properties here. We go to the Pixie settings, and you'll notice mine is not turned on.
Wow,
right?
I had to look at that close up.
Not turned on. So if I was going to be doing this traditionally in SCCM, I'd turn that on. I'd choose to allow this distribution point to be able to respond to those Pixie requests, and I would pick whether or not I wanted to support unknown computers. Well, I'm going to ignore all of that. We're going to just go ahead and close that out. And we're going to switch over to the Adaptiva workbench.
And so the Windows deployment service isn't even running, right?
Correct.
Right.
Yeah.
Wow.
WDS is not installed. It's not running on my server. And we're not even going to talk to the server in the first place. So we go to the workbench. For those of you who have never seen the workbench before, it is all a matter of perspective is what
And
we
this
like
is
to say.
Adaptiva server. This is Adaptiva one site, right?
Correct. This is the Adaptiva workbench, which includes client health and one site. So
Right.
one single pane of glass to be able to use all of our products. So it's all a matter of perspective. What we do is everything we do within the console is different perspectives, which bring together a set of editors and wizards and different pieces that we need to view what's going on with our environment. So I'm going to go ahead and step into actually we'll go to Pixie first. No, let's do the network topology first. So I'm going to open up, take a look at our network topology. You can see my environment here. Again, let me zoom in here. I've got a Kirkland data center. I've got a Plano data center down in Texas. I've got some offices that are hanging off of those. You can see here how we can have various levels of hierarchy. Seattle pulls from the Kirkland DC, Renton pulls from Seattle, and so forth. You'll also notice here we've got VPN and Wi-Fi offices. We can specifically configure to maximize the capabilities of the product by configuring those offices for what they actually do.
Like our predictive bandwidth harvesting or adapting to storage compute network.
Exactly, and peer-to-peer, right? So we utilize a lot of broadcast communication for discovery for our peer-to-peer. Well, broadcast is pretty tough to do when you're on Wi-Fi, and it's even worse when you're on a VPN.
Great
because
example, for
you're
sure.
not really a peer anymore.
Yeah.
So we turn on and off different features depending on the office type that you've got. So what we're going to take a look at here, we're going to work within the Seattle office, and I've got multiple machines here that are sitting in my Seattle office. Notice this little icon right here. This is, oops, don't do that on me, come on. Let's go back in there. Zoom it doesn't want to participate today. All right, here we go. So, client ID number 10, or PC number 1, it's got the little bullseye looking symbol. That's our rendezvous point, or RVP. Right. And the RVP is automatically elected. It's a process that's hands-free, and every machine within that office is going to be a part of that election. We're going to pick one of these boxes. It's not the one that holds the content. It's simply the one that's going to control the flow of communications. All right, so all of the boxes will check in with their RVP. The RVP will pick and choose who gets to talk to the server, who gets to talk to other peers. So this is our environment. So I'm going to switch back over here, go back to my home perspective, and then we'll go down here to peer-to-peer Pixie. Now, pay close attention, because if you blink, you're going to miss it. If I want to enable Pixie, oops, I better stay in the right location here. If I want to enable Pixie, I simply check the box right there.
Oh,
that enables peer-to-peer
That's really
Pixie.
easy. Yeah.
Right? So we're going to enable peer-to-peer Pixie. We're also going to get to pick and choose who can participate in that. So I may not want certain machines to participate with peer-to-peer Pixie
Or a
and
certain
be a
office,
host,
for example.
or even a certain
Right.
office, correct. So I get to set that up. I've got all these different checks that are going to be a part of this to make sure that it's going to work effectively. We're utilizing the same Wake and ADK tool set that everybody else would use for doing their deployments.
The first-party tool sets.
Yep. I've got my toolkit settings down here, so I'm going to tell where to be able to download those tools from. I'm going to pick and choose whether or not the local system account should get used. Here's where I can define the collections that are going to participate in being a Pixie server. I also have the ability to enable and disable support for UEFI. That's an important distinction there.
That's important, yeah.
And just like we saw in the SCCM console, I can choose whether or not we're going to support unknown computers. So great, I can see that everything's turned on here. And so now what I'm going to do is I've got a dummy test machine set up here, a blank VM. I've got no OS on it yet. I want to go ahead and do a deployment. So
Which office is it in?
this is in that Seattle,
Seattle
office. So we're going
office,
to do
right.
everything here within Seattle. So I'm going to go ahead and turn this guy on, and we'll go ahead and get to see the VMware boot process start up. This is a UEFI machine, so we're going to get to see the UEFI interface. And there it is. We can see the EFI network is starting to get initialized. And any second here, it should give us, there it is. So we can see that it's now talking to the server.
Great.
It's now
That was so easy.
starting
That
to
was so
download.
fast.
So let's take a look. Where did that actually come from? So I'm going to go ahead. We'll just, we're not going to image this whole machine, so I'll kill that for now. And then I'm going to go back to my server and take a look at the console. So we'll go back to our home perspective here. And I said we're working within the Seattle office, right? So I'm going to go back to that network perspective. And again, I want to figure out who my RVP is, who that rendezvous point is. So we said that's PC number 1. So let's switch over there real quick. We'll bring PC number 1 up here and log in with our super secret password. All right, so let's take a look. Just like SCCM, everything we do is always going to be in the logs, right? So we'll go ahead and navigate right into the Adaptiva client, go to the logs directory. And what do you think the name of that log would be?
I'm going to guess it's Pixie.
That's a good guess. All right, so here's our Pixie log. And our Pixie log is empty. Oh, I love live demos. What the heck's going on? Let's switch back here again. Yes, we are PC1. So why do I have an empty?
Maybe the operating system image was deployed from a different machine.
Well, yeah, but our initial communication should start from here. So that does not want to. Let's go ahead and close that out completely. Nope, we're not going to save any changes. We'll close that. All right, we'll give it one more chance. Let's open it back up again. There we go.
Oh, there it is.
Yes. When you don't use CM Trace as your log viewer, when you're dealing with a remote client, that's sometimes. So you can just see here all of the contact, all the communication that's happening with this box. But I'm going to go on here, get on to the bottom, and then we can see. There's our DHCP offer, right? Pixie is all based off of DHCP communication. So there's our DHCP offer. We can see here's a Pixie Discover package that came out there. We can see there's our Pixie state. We should have a Pixie acknowledgement. There's our DHCP acknowledgement right there. So all of that process is tracked in the logs. We can see exactly what's going on. And this is going to, the RVP, it answers those, it sets up, it works with DHCP to make sure that the IP address gets to that machine, and that the appropriate packages get sent to that machine. But then it's going to select who sends the content. So it's not the RVP that provides the content. He's going to look and say, all right, who's got this content in their cache? Who is best underutilized right now to be able to provide this content?
Good word to describe it,
Yes.
underutilized.
Underutilized. So we don't want to impact our regular users because we happen to be grabbing some content off their machine. So we're going to find the one that is got the most resources available to serve that content up. And again, like we mentioned before, let's say my laptop was to be chosen to be able to provide that content, and now I want to go into a conference room meeting. So I unplug, my computer goes offline. It doesn't matter. It's not going to impact that machine being built because the RVP is immediately going to switch him over to another machine who's
that
got
has
the
that
content.
content, yeah.
Exactly.
Can you show the video of how that impact is so minimal on the end user workstation?
Yeah, let's save that one for later.
Okay.
So first we want to do is actually show the video for how we protect the network, right? So we want to make sure that we have a nice homogeneous relationship with the network team. So how do we get that content down as quickly as possible without having to reconfigure the network and without having to impact all of those WAN links? So we have a capability, which we've talked about a couple of times, predictive bandwidth harvesting. Big words to say, but it's such a fun technology. So At Adaptiva, we have our own private protocols that we utilize. Most of our traffic travels over UDP, as you know. So we're doing UDP, we're not doing session-based TCP communications.
Sessionless.
So we manage all of the error state, making sure that we get all of the packets appropriately at the higher level protocols. And what that allows us to do then is, as that traffic is transferring across the network, we're going to look at that route. We're going to look at what other traffic is on there. And if we're transferring a piece of content and other business traffic starts to come across that route, we'll immediately back off. So let's take a look at how that actually transpires. I've got a pre-recorded video here, and what you see is we've got 4 machines here, and the top 2 machines are just a server and a client. And what we'll do is we'll transfer just normal SMP traffic or SMB traffic. We'll move a file across from one to the other. But the bottom 2 screens that you see here, on the left-hand side is going to be our server. And we're going to transfer content to the machine on the right. So when I start up that transfer, you'll see down here on these 2 machines, you'll see that green bar kick in. So we're going to utilize all of the bandwidth that's available to us. And so if that's not being utilized currently, we'll take up to 95% of that bandwidth. But
based on the utilization of the
based on the
machine,
current utilization of that route. So now, up in the top here, we're going to do that file transfer. And notice, down on the bottom here, less than a second, we notice that that traffic is going across. We immediately back it down to a trickle. You'll notice there's still a little bit of green left there. So we're still going to pass a packet or 2 back and forth to keep that connection alive. But as soon as that transfer finishes, up we go again. We're going to consume that bandwidth. And so when we look at SCCM by itself and we set up bits, we're going to throttle. So we're never going to get any more bandwidth than bits is going to allow us through that throttling process. But by utilizing one site, we get to take everything that's not being used and never have to worry about the network team calling us to yell that we're bringing down the network, because again, as soon as that traffic comes through,
no throttling.
We're going to back it back down.
That's a great overview of that. Thank you very much for that. So let's go into the last stage and to maintain, and we'll just take a look at the 3 steps that are key to it. We've talked a lot about client health, and we're going to show client health for Windows 10 in just a few moments here. Getting that training on how you work with Windows 10, that becomes really important as your users begin to use, the people in your organization use Windows 10, they get excited about it, they want to use the new features, and they appreciate the efficiencies that Windows 10 brings as well. And then lastly, and this is a challenge everyone runs into, which is keeping their operating system deployment images up to date. How do you get the right content in the patches, and how do you architect that so it can be pushed out, and which offices have different challenges or resource requirements or driver requirements? And someone might have a particular brand of laptop in one office, but that might be for your international office completely different, right? And one site can help with that with the auto push features and the other features built into it. We wanted to take a few moments, and again, we'll switch over to you, Chaz, and talk about client health for Windows 10, what you can do to maintain your Windows 10 and to check and see, make sure it's healthy, make sure it doesn't need to go see the doctor.
Absolutely. And then one other thing I just wanted to bring up, though.
Yeah.
You brought up a great feature set. We've got that auto push technology that allows us to make sure that if you're pushing out a task sequence, if you're pushing out an OS environment, every time you make a change to that task sequence, or every time you change some of the content, maybe there's an additional app that you're going to install, we're going to recognize that instantly and automatically go back out and update the entire environment. So everybody who's got that content is going to get the newer version of it. It's automatically handled, so we don't have to worry about going out there and redistributing that content. It's automatically going to get pushed out to them, so it keeps them up to date. So let's talk about client health. Again, like I said, everything happens in the same workbench. So we go into our workbench here, and client health is here up at the top. We're going to show the client health for Windows 10. So this is our reduced subset, but it's important to always remember that,
We chose
hundreds more.
And we chose the key health checks that would be useful for Windows deployment.
More importantly than that, we talked to our customers and asked them what the key perspectives, our key health checks were. So we're taking all of the experiences of our customers, all the experiences of our partners, bringing that in and brought the best to bear here so that people can get used to being able to get that information at a moment's notice. So let's take a look at what it looks like on my machine here. I'm going to do an instant client health set up a policy. So I'm going to create a brand new one here by clicking new. All right, let's participate. There we go. I'm going to give it a quick name real quick. So I'm going to go and check, let's see, what version of Windows 10 is out there. Let's make sure it's 64-bit because we're going to get the best performance and security out of a 64-bit. So I'll call this an OS check. And then I'm going to pick a machine that I want to go run this on so that I can set up a test and be sure that this test is going to do what I want it to do. So I'll pick on PC2 here and bring him over. I just drag and drop him right onto that spot. And then I'm going to go over here to the right-hand side and choose my health checks. So you can see I've got 4 different major categories, things to check the OS out, security checks. I'm going to go into Windows 10 here, and I want to know what's the architecture. So I'm going to bring that out here, drag that right in there. So there's my architecture. I want to know, is it 64-bit? I also want to know, is it a SKU that's going to take advantage of these new security features? So, it's not available for Pro. It's not available, not all of
the different editions and the different
Exactly.
features that are available.
So I want to know, is this enterprise, is it server, is it education? Is it going to be able to take advantage of these different features? I can throw in all kinds of different ones. TPM version, let's throw a TPM check into there. So I can pick and choose as many of these as I want, drag them and drop them in there, and then I'm just simply going to run it. And that will go off. This is instantly going to build a package in the background, build a policy, send that out to the machine that I selected, and that client down there is then going to consume that, expand that content, run it through the policy, not the generator, but the policy engine, thank you, and determine and reply back to me with what you can see. It's already back. We already know exactly what's going on with all 3 of our checks. So there's lots of different checks that we can do here. Once those come back, we can click on it for more information, find out exactly what did it check for. So I can see here, this checked that the operating system was 64-bit, and it passed. We know we're good there. Here, we ran this, and this was our make sure that it's a SKU that's going to support all of those security features. So we know we're good there. Oh, TPM check failed. Well, it's a virtual machine, and I didn't enable the virtual TPM, so of course it's going to fail. But this is a great way to be able to go out there and query, know exactly what's going on in your environment, and once you've built a check like this where we did that instant, now we can schedule that and have that go back out, run it on a scheduled time frame, grab in additional machines and pull it in there and be able to see what's going on in our environment.
And part of the planning as well is the ability to choose the right health checks that are right for an organization. And so in addition to the guidance we provide for that, I know that you pick up the phone and you help out in support too. And so you can help an organization that's looking to deploy Windows 10 to say, these are the ones that are so important or something that I have to address within my environment.
Absolutely. And then even more importantly is once you upgrade to the full client health, then if there's something that's missing from there that you need in your environment, then we can help you to go through, and we've got a fully packaged workflow designer where we can create a new workflow, a new health check, package that up, and then you can import that and be able to utilize that in your own environment. And if you've got geeky guys like me who like to be able to build their own, you don't even have to call us, right? So the designer is right there in everybody's workbench, so you just go from your home perspective, and we've got workflow designers, and we can go through, here's all of our different workflows that are part of all of these things, part of OneSite, part of client health. You need to create something new, we've given you the tools to be able to do so.
That's so excellent. Well, let me bring it all together. One of the things that I think that's really important with the Windows 10 Accelerator program is knowing that we're here with you every step of the way. So our guidance, our tools, our technology with OneSite and Client Help for Windows 10, our exclusive content that we have, all come together to help make the Windows 10 deployment process a little bit smoother and a little bit easier. And I'm sure right now you want to know how you can get started. For those of you who have yet to go down the path of Windows 10 deployment, as we mentioned before, license OneSite, license Adaptiva OneSite, and you get all of the other content, including a 1-year trial license of Client Help for Windows 10, our exclusive MVP training and guides, which you saw in the support portal before. Those curated best of the best tools, including the license for the System Center Dudes report, and then also recommendations on how to best use first-party Microsoft technology to make that operating system deployment easier, like software, like upgrade readiness and the Software Center. And current OneSite customers can get the full program upon request, and they might be reaching out to you for that, right, Jazz?
Exactly, yep.
So we want to invite everyone to take a look and get started. And it says right over here on the right side here, don't buy stuff you don't need. What's important about that message is we want to give you a program and all the tools and all the content and the right tools in order to make your Windows 10 OS deployments easier and better as well. One of the other ways we offer help, and right now you can go out to www.adaptiva.com and take a look at our resources in our Adaptiva Academy. We have lots of different podcasts and webinars and roundtables that we put together, all about Windows 10 deployment, about some of the technologies that are in OneSite.
In fact,
Client Help today, yeah.
They just released the new infographic today for all of the security features.
That's great, yeah.
So that ties right in here.
And we're going to actually include that, incorporate it in the Windows 10 Accelerator Program. We're always working to put together the best resources for you. So that security infographic, it's dynamite. I saw it. It's great. I think everyone want to get their hands on that. You should check out our blog under Insights at adaptiva.com. And so we encourage you to reach out to us from our website to do a trial or a POC of it. See the Windows 10 Accelerator Program in action. Get excited about what OneSite can offer, what Client Help for Windows 10 can offer. We could do a demo for you. We'd love to work with you on your proof of concepts that you have going on. If you have projects, you're starting to tackle Windows 10 as a whole, we're here for you. We're here to help you out and help smooth that deployment to Windows 10, that transition that you're ready to go through. We hope many of you have taken the time to write up some questions on Discuss, and we will get to them even if we get to them after our session and our time today in our live stream. But I have one question that I'd like to start off the end of our discussion with, which is, I've seen the technology working in the lab environment, but how does this technology scale? How does OS deployment scale for 100,000, 200, 300,000 endpoints?
Amazingly well. You talk about, we've got customers that are only a few thousand endpoints, and they love it because now they can have those smaller offices completely covered with content and Pixie, and they can reboot from anywhere and be able to have a fast deployment. And then we've got, like we said, customers with hundreds of thousands of endpoints. And even if they've got multiple infrastructure in place for SCCM, they can still minimize that by utilizing OneSite and get all of the benefits. So it doesn't matter what size you are. It's a solution that's going to make it easier.
I mean, we've heard of our customers using Client Health doing 8 million health checks a day. 8 million health checks a day. Amazing. Well, I only have one final question for you.
And customers doing 60 deployments at the same time in an office with zero WAN impact.
That's an incredible opportunity. So are you going to pick up the phone when some of the people watching our live stream call in, Chaz?
Absolutely, absolutely. I left it outside of the studio, but I'm sure that I have plenty of different messages waiting for me. So.
Well, that's awesome. Thanks a lot. I appreciate everyone's time on the live stream to talk about Adaptiva and the Windows 10 Accelerator Program, the different tools we offer and resources we offer to help you out. We really appreciate your time, and we look forward to hearing from you. Reach out to us as soon as you can. Thanks a lot.